Hello everyone, welcome back to Channel Booster Gaming here. And today, I actually just wanted to share a bunch of reports that I actually taken from taking rallies over the past 24 hours. And as you can see, I did take very many rallies when I was garrisoning for the past 24 hours as we were in a past 7 fight. Last couple are actually garrisoning the pass itself, and at the very end we did lose this garrison because I think we actually given up at this point, and a lot of people actually stopped reinforcing, which is unfortunate. But then and now I actually am retreated back to zone 4 and just farming up a little bit until the King's End opens in 30 hours. So we're nearing the end of this KVK in terms of fights, and we are actually in a 1v3 scenario where all the other camps are against us. We have only 2 passes, pass ace, but I think we'll still be fine because we are indeed the strongest camp at the end of the day, and the one camp that we didn't fight actually is probably one of the weakest camp that we can go against. But anyways, let's just jump right into what I use for my setup. For my Eleanor, I am actually using this equipment, iconic 4 or 5 on all the other ones except for the helmet, which I am going to try to focus on getting the iconic 4 as I get more KVK coins. And my formation / armaments are like this. I have 3 special inscriptions that are most important for wedge. I basically am only missing formation on this one, but then again, I think this is pretty decent formation armaments and stuff. And I actually do have everything in the crystal tech except for the all damage 3%. That will impact the garrison. All the other ones are going to impact the field, the unit capacity, and I think the rally cap I'm missing a little bit. So I'm missing a little bit here and there in terms of tech, but then again, I have everything that I need in terms of all the techs that will impact the garrison result, except for the last one, which will be that 3% all damage, which is significant. But then again, not enough to change the course of many different things. And what I'll do actually throughout this video is actually I'll take a look at each and every one of those reports and give you a little bit of insight on how I was able to defend against those rallies. A lot of the other camp that was actually rallying my flag did use several different rallies, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of tips on how to actually combat each and every one of them. So let's go ahead and start from the very bottom. So this one, 24 hours ago, this guy actually started rallying me with archers, Henry, Nebu. It's definitely not a bad rally, and it does have a lot of stats as the support skills. I did use the William and Amendment skill, which will give you 20% skill damage as well as 40% cap attack. And that, I think he did have a little more all damage. I don't know if that's because of the tech difference, but I did have a little more damage to rallies in garrison because I did have better gear, I think. So all in all, pretty good trade. I think I did get some field support just because archer rallies, although they're not as vulnerable to swarms as, let's say, cav rallies, there are still a couple field marches that can benefit you greatly by swarming them with, for example, I had Zhuge Herman swarm along with what's the other one? Liu Che and Philip. So that Liu Che and Philip will actually buff with Philip's second skill. Both the garrison, I don't know if it actually applies to garrison, but I thought it would, so why not? It didn't say anything about not buffing garrison, so I actually did use Liu Che Philip and use Philip's buff to buff up the rally garrison. Actually, let's just go ahead and take a look at the skill description and see if Philip actually does buff. Yeah, up to 5 nearby ally friendly troops. So I'm assuming it does apply to the garrison, but not 100% sure. I think some people might need to clarify that by testing it. But anyways, I used Liu Che, Philip, as well as Zhuge Herman to inflict extra damage. Zhuge Herman will inflict poison to that rally so that it will take more damage from Eleanor Hera, and also at the same time my my Liu Philip would actually buff up my rally and also buff the damage reduction buff so that my rally will do better. So pretty good results countering that Archer rally. Very good trade rate, I think. And then they changed the scenario to Scipio and Herald. So the reason why they did that is because I think they were thinking that they were getting swarmed down too much, I believe, so that they actually have switched up to infantry, which is a good move. I think Scipio, being a very smite damage focused commander, does actually do really well against swarms. And also Herald is an anti-swarm, very heavy anti-swarm commander, and they're using the Martel's counterattack to buff up that counterattack damage on top of Herald's first skill to maximize that counterattack damage for the best trade. But unfortunately, I did actually tell everyone who was actually around to set up a couple markers to tell them not to swarm it and just reinforce the garrison, because that is the best way, I think, in my opinion, for you to actually counter these. Otherwise, they're going to have a much better report because they're going to be damaging so many of those swarmers, punishing those swarmers with a massive counterattack, in my opinion. So this one was not swarm as far as what I remember. And then if this March is not really swarm, there's no way, my apologies, there's no way that Eleanor Hera will lose to those, lose to basically a counter swarm rally. So did really well against that particular March, and this one did worse, I think, because a lot of people actually did swarm without listening to me, but it still is in favor of Eleanor Hera, just because of the fact that, again, counter swarm rallies are focused on dealing as much counterattack damage as possible to nearby troops that are swarming it. And Pakao is a better choice, in my opinion, because Pakao is one of the skills Pakao actually has. Where is it? So this command as a Pakao's second skill, Holy Tree's Blessing. This commander's troop takes 10% less damage if their troop is on the map and surrounded. It gains extra damage reduction. Extra damage reduction is going to go up to 30%. So if you're actually swarming a Pakao rally, you're gonna make Pakao take up to 40% less damage. And if you're swarming it with weak field, I think it will make Pakao Scipio do a lot better than if you are not swarming it to help out the garrison. So I think that's what a lot of mistakes were made, where the trade ratios are worse. If you just let it go 1v1 and just keep reinforcing the garrison only, I think that's the best way for you to actually counter those Pakao or anything combined with Pakao rally, because at the end of the day, Pakao is a very outdated commander, and his skill damage is like actually is, he doesn't have a skill. He just basically makes himself do more counterattack damage and take less damage. So Pakao is not really made for doing enough damage to whatever you're hitting. It's just to punish whatever is surrounding Pakao, and that's how they actually perform better in terms of overall reports, because it does punish the swarmers so much. So yeah, that I basically told people, just don't swarm Pakao. It's just gonna benefit the rally, and then that's how we combated this. And you'll see a lot more Pakao rallies in the future, but every time they launch anything related to Pakao rally, I basically told them not to swarm it. Now, this one is a Henry Asher Venipal. Henry Asher Venipal is probably the strongest rally that you can actually send out in this state where we don't have Subutai available at the very moment. Again, that might change over the course of the next couple weeks. But then again, Henry Ashur-Paul with counterattack damage support skill, which will deal more counterattack damage to any swarmers to punish it. And then it does actually do more counterattack from Henry's third skill, 30% more counterattack damage. And then I think Ashur-Paul also has, let's see, the normal damage reduction. I swear to God, oh yeah. The target deals 20% less normal damage. I swear to God they had something related to the counter swarming mechanism. I think it might be this one. Takes 15% less normal damage. So deals 60% extra counterattack damage and 15% less normal damage. So it is very punishing to anyone that's swarming this particular rally too. And also it does a huge amount of skill damage with Henry doing, I think, 2500 damage factor. 2300 damage factor. And then I think Ashur-Paul does a lot more, 2500 damage factor, 2300 damage factor. So very high DPS. I think probably Henry Ashur-Paul is a very, very strong rally because, again, it cannot be swarmed as easily as, let's say, a cab rally, and it still does a lot of damage. So, but 1v1, I got reinforced once. Unfortunately, I don't know what was going on here. Maybe some people actually did swarm this one. I don't remember 100%. Oh, it might be missing all damage from the tech. But yeah, I did do pretty well against Henry Ashur-Paul. Henry Ashur-Paul, although it is very punishing for you to swarm it, I think it is still swarmable because they don't scale with normal damage like Scipio. So a lot of people actually don't focus on skill that does improve skill damage. And actually, for Pakal, yeah, if Pakal actually does 1300 damage. I actually forgot that the rally that you're taking from the active skill is on the rightmost side. So my apologies on that. But yeah, so very high DPS. But then again, I think this got swarmed down pretty easily. So I think that's what happened, because if we went 1v1, I think it would have been even more even trade here. And so that they actually switched back to Scipio Pakal. Again, a little bit better. I think this one, a lot more people actually swarm by this one. Starting this one, a lot less people actually started to swarm Scipio and Pakal, and we just started to actually reinforce the rally. And that works really fine for Scipio Pakal because, again, Scipio has a pretty high smite damage, but then again, Pakal doesn't synergize with that because this is a skill damage of 1300. You don't really buff up skill damage with Scipio, so its power actually comes from the fact that it does take a lot less damage if you have a lot of swarmers attacking it. But people were not swarming that Scipio Pakal rally, so it worked out fine. We were able to actually do really well against it. And some people actually tried Attila Takeda. Attila Takeda is a very outdated rally, but it is a very anti-swarm rally. But unfortunately, if you're going to send out an anti-swarm rally, it's just better to send an infantry, in my opinion. It's not going to do too well, and as a result, you can see that this guy didn't do well at all, and it's just too outdated. I think he didn't really have good gears too. Kind of explains why they weren't doing so hot with this rally right here. It does have a lot of attack, a lot of defense, just because of the fact that it does have the rally itself. I think the skill set they actually have do offer those, but unfortunately, I don't think they were able to do well. This does really, really well against swarmers, by the way, but then again, not so well against 1v1 scenario. Now they actually changed to Tariq ibn Ziyad as well as Pakal. So Tariq ibn Ziyad actually is a better choice perhaps with Pakal because they both scale with skill damage. And if people are actually swarming Tariq, the Tariq actually does more damage to whoever you're actually attacking. So Tark, if it's not surrounded, it will do 2500 damage factor. But then again, if it is swarmed, it would actually deal up to 3400 damage factor. So swarming Tark Ibn Ziyad is a very, very bad thing. So, and again, I think he has a lot of skill damage buff as well. That's just straight up damage buff, which is fine, I think. And then it synergizes a little bit better, I think, with Pakal, because you don't have to worry about putting just smite damage onto him. In terms of armament, you can actually put something like Wedge in there and then, you know, buff of his skill damage to do more damage. But and you can see that I think he has better tech than me in terms of his equipment. Probably not so much. The damage to troops on the map, damage to rally, you can see that he's missing some iconic force. But so that's probably why, kind of explains why he didn't do so well. But then again, Tarek Ibn Ziyad, Pakal did fairly bad against me, just because I just told people not to swarm any Pakal rallies, and they listened. They start to listen on the second rally on more. And now more Tarek Ibn Ziyad, Pakal, and then they actually switched to Scipio and Tark, which is probably the best anti-swarm infantry rally that they can actually send at this very moment, just because of the fact that they both have pretty good anti-swarm mechanics. But then again, Tarek Ibn Ziyad and Scipio both has pretty high damage factor. This one has smite damage factor of 2700, and then this one has 2500 to 3400 skill damage. Although they don't synergize well in terms of, I think, whatever armaments that you're using, is still probably what the best rally that infantry has. It does provide you that counterattack or swarm punishing mechanics of infantry arch, infantry rally, as well as pretty high damage output for DPS purposes. So pretty good rally. Unfortunately, I think me. I don't know how I won this pretty easily. I'm assuming some people actually did swarm it. Actually, Scipio and Tarek Ibn Ziyad is actually not too bad in terms of swarming. It's not going to benefit the rallies report against me, I think, like how Pakal could potentially, because of that damage reduction going up to 40% from 10%. But it did pretty bad against me. I'm assuming he doesn't have. Yeah, his. Let's see. No, he actually has all full iconics, I think. So I don't know what's going on there. But I think it was probably swarmed, I'm assuming. I wasn't awake for the entirety of all those reports. Another Scipio, Tarek Ibn Ziyad, did pretty well. It's probably the best reports that you're going to be able to see, because this is the best rally the infantry has in the field, in my opinion, at this very moment. So you can see that it did perform much better than the other ones. And they, I think, kept sending Scipio, Tarek Ibn Ziyad, which was actually doing the low 200s, 240% here, which is, I think, the best that they actually got. Given that I have reinforcement, I think this is pretty impressive. Are they ever reinforced at all? No, they're not reinforced. So you can see that. Well, the reason why I was surprised actually over here was it's the same rally, but I didn't have reinforcement. I did really, really well. But this one I was reinforced, I did worse. So I was assuming someone actually was swarming the rally for this one. I didn't. But yeah, this is very interesting. And then they were actually doing that for a while, I think. And then they switched back to Scipio Pakal, because I am assuming because it was getting swarmed out too much. And then they switched to Henry Nebu. So I don't think it's a good idea for you to actually use Nebu nowadays, because you can just use Ashur Vanapal. So I don't know why this person was using Henry Nebu. It's just going to kill your archers a lot. So, and yeah, I think it's a pretty bad rally for you to send to an Eleanor Hera, especially when I'm the only one who's getting reinforcement. And then they switch back to Scipio, Pakal. Again, Henry and Nebu is actually more swarmable, way more swarmable than Ashurbanipal, in my opinion. So I think it got swarmed down pretty easily. This one right here. Yeah, so another Scipio Pakal. I don't know about this one. Did they just... Oh, this is when I actually switched to the garrisoning pass. So you can see that they actually sent to Alexander Nevsky and Justinian, which I think is a pretty bad move, especially when they don't have the rally capacity. So for those of you who are actually looking to rally something, if your rally capacity is not 3 million by pass 7, it will always depend on your kingdom, but just try to find someone who actually has 3 million rally cap. If not, at least send 2.7 million or more unit capacity rallies, because this is what will happen. You got destroyed despite having a lot of people around you to take on the damage. It's just really bad. So don't rally with pretty low rally capacity, for one, and two, don't rally with Alex Justinian. In my opinion, I don't think it's the best rally currently. It's the best rally that Cav has right now because we don't have Subutai yet. But once Subutai lands, this rally will basically go away, in my opinion. It is very vulnerable to swarms. I don't think in this case they actually did swarm. It's just the fact that they don't have enough units really tells you a lot. And also, it's not using the right support skill. This guy just didn't know what he was doing, in my opinion. To see that he's just using 40% attack damage, when you can actually use 20% skill damage with Mehmed available on this map. Maybe they didn't actually have access to Mehmed, I don't know. And you can see that all damage difference is huge, so he does snap a tech build for sure. And he doesn't have, I don't think he has right equipment for rallying too. So if you find someone who's about to rally with Alexander Nevsky and Justinian, and the rally capacity is not really up there with, like, let's say, other top tier rallies in your kingdom, don't send your troops. It's gonna die like this. But so after that, they actually learned a little bit of lessons, and then they actually started to rally with Scipio Herald, which is a very bad rally against, I think, a pass, especially again when you don't have a rally capacity. So I think this one did pretty bad too. You can see that it's missing all damage. Doesn't even have tech, so I don't think it's worth our time taking a closer look at it. Let's move on. So Tarkivans, yes, Scipio. So this is probably the best rally against Eleanor Hera, in my opinion. You can see that it did pretty even. I'm doing a little better with kill points because I think almost all of my troops were tier 4s, and all of his troops were actually tier 5. You see that a lot of them are tier 5s, some tier 4s, but all my units, except for mine, I like 60,000. Everything else is tier 4. But we actually traded pretty even. Let's take a look at his stuff. Yeah, I think he's missing some tech, but he's definitely better than the other guys that rallied me. I think he does have the equipment, because he does have that 7.5% damage to rally than Garrison. So he does have a little bit better equipment, I think, in terms of iconics, but I don't think he had the tech for the units, or maybe people didn't fill up this rally because it doesn't actually end even. So unfortunately, this one actually didn't work in their favor, but the trade ratio is probably one of the best that we've seen so far, despite them not having enough troops for that. So pretty interesting report here. Then they actually started to use Scipio, Pakal, and they did have a lot of deaths. I think it's because some of them were actually getting AoE damage from my Hera. But this rally itself didn't do so well. Again, this is an anti-swarm rally. It's not going to do really well against 1v1. And I don't think we were swarming that garrison, that rally too, so it just did really well against Scipio Pacquiao. This one again, another Scipio Pacquiao. Just it's very tough for you to actually beat Eleanor Hera against with Scipio Pacquiao, but I get it. You don't want to get swarmed, and they actually use those. And this is the last one that I actually had. I went against 3 million, two different rallies, so this was double rallied. This one actually right here is pretty strong rally. I think this guy has full tech. That's 3 million troop type. 3 million units for the troop. You can see that all damage can go all the way up to 32.8%. He does have all the buffs in the right places, I think. So yeah, so this one did really well against me, I think. Let's just take a look at some of the battle logs. So up to, until I think I hit 1.8 mil, I'm assuming I was winning. You can see that, yeah, until, and then he got reinforced first, and then I got reinforced, and I got reinforced again. Yeah, probably until you actually, but I think they're getting reinforced a lot better because they're the rally, and a lot of people for passes, we already kind of given up at this point, so our reinforcement was relatively slower. But yeah, I think if you go 1v1 against Hera, Eleanor against this troop, I think this guy probably has better tech than me, but then again, I think I probably would have lasted. But then again, having the second rally hit me probably didn't help too much. And also this one, I think they have more T5s than T4s. Just because you can just tell by how there's a lot more deaths than 7 wounds on my side, but the kill points were about even between me and him. So yeah, so that's basically it. Again, many rallies. I think I did include some of them because they're just, yeah, they're just some dumb ones. And those are just actually someone who was trying to rally a fort, got and got killed. I think there's anything else that was worth noting. This is our rally against that pass. Yeah, I don't think there's anything that's worth noting for that. Yeah, I don't think there's any garrison. Oh, there's some garrisons that I actually missed. Oh, Scipio, Pacquiao, some swarms happening. You can see that it does result in. So I didn't bring in all of them actually. I didn't know. But this one also is pretty devastating difference, I think. Yeah, I didn't bring all of them, but overall, I think it was very interesting. Again, I got rallied more than 30 times. Won almost all of them except for the last one where I actually wasn't getting reinforced as much as the other one, and also got double rallied. But then again, the reason why I was able to win a lot was because I'm not gonna say like I won them because I was better. But I think for one, I was swarming with my other marches and when appropriate. So that was to our advantage. We did have the field as it was on the R side for this fly. Pass you can't really do that too much. But then again, for the flag rallies that I've taken, I was able to swarm with the right troops on the field so that I was able to actually defend better. But then again, for some other ones, it's just as simple as telling people not to swarm. So those things, Scipio and Pacquiao, those are just going to work better if you just reinforce it. And again, what I was trying to say earlier was that I didn't mean that I won against them just because I was better. I did have the reinforcement. I did have a lot more reinforcement for the flags, especially. Not so much on the pass defending because they didn't really take that many pass rallies, and then I think we had better reinforcement except for the last one. So yeah, as long as Eleanor Hera gets reinforcement, it is most likely that you're gonna be able to defend against any rally if you're garrisoning. even though you're missing 3% all damage. Although I'm going to fix that pretty soon when the Karuka's 3-star opens up. But then again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm making this video because I actually saw a lot of people actually did like my last video, which was about Arthur doing really well in the field. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys actually enjoyed this video, please go ahead and drop a thumbs up, as well as subscribe. Consider subscribing to the channel, because I'm going to be making a lot more videos like this. And I'm actually thinking about doing more of like a all garrison, all rally tier list ish, with their power level and what they're good at, what they're bad at. So if you're subscribed to the channel, you'll not miss that video, as well as all the other videos that I make for the channel. But with that said, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next video.